And that extraordinary capacity for depth and richness does not switch off when it comes to emotion. If anything, it actually turns that volume up. A small disappointment to them can feel absolutely enormous. A correction in class can feel like a verdict on who they are as a person, and they do take that personally. A morning that starts badly can just colour the entire day in ways that feel completely out of proportion to what actually happened. I see this constantly in my work. A child who seems absolutely fine 1 minute and completely overwhelmed and losing the plot the next. Not because anything dramatic happened, but because their brain has processed and experience at a depth that most people around them simply do not. If this sounds like your child, then I want you to listen to this. Your child is not actually being difficult. They're not overreacting. It's a visual, spatial brain doing exactly what it was built to do, feeling everything fully, all at once. The question is not how do we make them feel less? The question is how do we give them the tools to work with what they feel instead of being overwhelmed by it? When a child feels everything that intensely and they have spent years in a system that has not been designed for the way their brain works, they start to build a story about themselves. I can't do this. I'm not as good as anyone else. I always get this wrong. Something is wrong with me. And the thing that breaks my heart every single time I hear it, once that story is in place, it plays over again on repeat. The brain does not need new evidence to keep believing it. It will keep replaying that same handful of moments over and over and over again until a child or a person begins to believe that it is the whole truth about who they are. And this doesn't stop in childhood. I had an adult client who told me that she had been saying to herself for 60 years that she was stupid and different to others. 60 years. She began to cry in our very first session when she realized that she had been telling herself that what she had been telling herself her whole life was not true. It was never true. It was just that nobody had ever given her the tools to see herself differently. And the people that I work with are carrying that same story. Some of them since they were 5 or 6 years old. Flipping that story takes real conscious effort. It does not happen by accident, and it does not happen just because someone tells a child to think positive. It happens when a child or a person is actually given tools that help them notice what is happening in their own mind and to choose something different. And that is where the gauge comes in. If you have driven around Hawke's Bay during a dry summer, you will see those roadside gauges and along the roadside there. Water restriction gauges. So green is for normal use, orange for restricted, and red is for severe water restrictions. We see them all the time. That simple visual scale tells you exactly where things stand as far as the water goes at a glance. So I use that exact same idea with every single person I work with, regardless of their age. Instead of asking them how to describe how they are feeling, which can be really hard for them to find the words, for a visual spatial thinker, using that gauge we build together and that visual scale that they can point to, move along and check in with throughout the day, suddenly then you have a person who could never quite explain why they were struggling can show you where they are or talk about where they are. They're at green. Yes, they're fine. Everything's cool. They're heading into orange. Yes, they've got that alertness happening. They're moving into that red zone. And more importantly, then they start to notice for themselves when they are moving from green into orange before they ever reach red, before that overwhelm takes place and takes over, before their day turns to custard. That noticing is everything, because once you can see where you are, then you can do something about it. Before having that gauge, most of the people I work with had no idea where their emotions were heading towards, or that they were going headlong into overwhelm until they were already there. And here's something I talk about with everyone I work with, regardless of their age: glimmers. A glimmer is that wee small moment that brings a flicker of genuine good feeling. It might be the sun coming in through the window first thing in the morning, or it could be a kingfisher that you happen to spot outside your window, perhaps on the drive to work or school. It could be that stranger smiling at you in the street and you smiling back. The smell of something good cooking, maybe you've just passed a lovely bakery, or a view that catches you completely off guard. So on their own, these moments may seem tiny, too small to matter. However, for a brain that has been running on a negative story for a long time, glimmers are evidence, real, undeniable evidence that the day is not entirely the story that the brain has been telling. The more a person practices noticing these glimmers, the easier it becomes to find them, because what you look for, you start to see more often. This is not about ignoring what's hard or pretending everything's fine. It's about giving the brain something true and real to hold alongside the negative story that it's been replaying over and again. Those little moments in time add up, and the negative story starts to lose its grip when you start noticing those glimmers. So I have watched people come to me that convinced that nothing good has ever happened to them. And once they start finding these little glimmers everywhere, within a few days of practicing this, they are just so much more joyous and so much more happy with you. I want to be really honest with you about something that I do. I don't just teach these tools, I use them myself every single day before anyone walks through my door. Each morning I spend 10 minutes writing in an affirmation and vision diary. Then I do a short clearing breathing exercise, often while I'm setting up my room for the day. It reminds me that I am welcoming a new day. I reset my focus using the same tools that I teach, and I make sure the space that I'm about to bring someone into is calm and ready for them. By doing this daily, I personally stay grounded and centered. My mindset stays in the positive space, and I will be completely honest with you about something else. So if I forget it, or I'm rushed, or I think, oh, it won't matter today, I certainly know how quickly my day can turn to absolute custard if I don't do this crucial work. And I also know how quickly that overwhelm can take over if I even give it the tiniest room to grow or start plummeting into that downward spiral. I'm not above any of this, but I need these tools just as much as the people I work with. The difference is I know how to use them, and I use them every single day. So if you're a child or you're a person yourself that feels everything more intensely than seems to make sense, if the negative story seems to win more often than not, and if mornings are hard and emotions feel too big for the moment, I want you to know something. None of this means there is something wrong with you or with them. It means they have had a brain that experienced the world in extraordinary depth, and right now they do not yet have the tools to work with that depth rather than be overwhelmed by it. This is exactly what our time together is about. Not just reading, writing, maths and spelling, but giving a visual spatial thinker the tools to understand their own mind. Recognize where they are on that emotional gauge, notice those glimmers, and choose something different, even on a hard day. And I've watched people who've come to me defeated and disengaged and walk away with a completely different picture of who they are as a learner and as a person. And this is not because I'm clever. It is because for the first time, somebody has given them tools that actually make sense for the way their brain works. If any of what I've talked about today sounds familiar to you, or if you recognise your child and yourself or someone you know in what I've been describing, I would really love to have a conversation with you. I'd just like to have an informal and honest talk about what is going on for you and whether what I do could help. You can reach me at dyslexiaunpuzzled.co.nz. You're welcome to send me a message directly. I always love to read and answer every one of those. And if this video resonated with you, please share it and talk about it. And don't forget to like it too, because there is a person out there who needs to hear this today, and they may not know where to look. Thank you for your help, and I will see you in the next one.